Okay, so today's session we will see the scenario how to map data from work class to data class. So work class to data class mapping is nothing but, so we are doing the insert function. Okay, so how to insert the data to the database. Okay, or we can also call it as, so how to map data from work class to the data class. Okay, so in order to do this task, so I'll tell the sequence of steps we have to create. Okay, so what are the rules we have to create as part of this insert process. So you can follow in any order. Okay, here I'm creating in some order. In step 1 I'm going to add a data table. In step 2, okay, in the data table you'll define all the properties, and in step 2 I will define work class properties. Okay, see, under the work class, under which class you are working, so inside the work class we are going to define the properties, and data class properties and work class properties will be same. Okay, so we'll be using the same properties, and in the work class properties we can add more properties, because there is no need that every value we have to save it to the database. Okay, for example, in a data class if you use 4 properties, in the work class we can use more than 4 or 5, some 7 properties or 8 properties, means only property values of few properties only will be saving to the database. So those two properties must be same. Okay, other properties we can use any number of properties, so that one I'll tell you while creating them. Next, in step 3 I'll create a section. Okay, in the section we'll drag and drop the properties using the layouts available. In step 4 I'll create an flow action. So what are the section we are creating? For that section we can add a flow action further. And in step 5 I'm going to create activity. Okay, till here you can add in any order. So from step 1 to step 4 you can add work class properties first, then section, then flow action. After that you can create data table. Okay, so this is not the, you can add in any order according to your convenience. Okay, but before creating an activity you must complete the data table. Okay, and designing the section and all you can complete before creating an activity. Okay, so we can add in any order. So these 4 steps. Next, in the 5th step I am going to create an activity. So here we are going to map all the data from work class to data classes using the predefined methods. And in the next step, actually in the real time means, so the cases will be configured by the business analyst. In the personal edition we are going to configure a case. So from which case we are going to design the process. Inside the case we are going to define the process, and from this process we'll open the flow diagram. In step 7 we'll open the flow and we'll configure the rules inside the flow diagram. Okay, mute your microphones. Iqbal, mute your microphones. So in the flow diagram we are going to configure the rules, and finally we'll execute the case. So execute and we'll perform debugging. Okay, so these are the steps I'm going to follow. So in this scenario, so how to map the data from work class to data class, or insert. Okay, we can also call it as insert thing. Okay, so first we'll start with the step 1. So already application setup and everything is there, right? So no need to create it again. So from this same setup only I'm going to configure the things. I'm going to configure the rules here. So first of all, start with data table creation. So in the first step, add a data table. So from the designer studio, I'll configure this table. Go to designer studio, data model, data tables. Okay, we are going to add a new table, add a new data table. Okay, so as part of the table creation, we have to fill this information. So class name is nothing but table name, and this table name format, so we have to follow some standards. So we have to first of all select the data class name. Okay, our data class name is this one, which is a parent path. Next, after the data class, we'll give the name of the table. Okay, so till here for all the data tables the name will be common, because we need to identify the class type. Okay, whether it is a work class or data class. Generally work classes will have a work here, and data classes will have a data here. Okay, and integration classes will have int-hyphen will be there. Okay, now these subclasses, right? So this subclass comes under a data table name. So after the data we can give the name of the table. Okay, so this, but while using this table name, so the entire class name we will use. Okay, so not only just this name. So if you want to use this particular table in the application, we have to use this entire class name. Okay, this total name is considered as a table name, or in PEGA terms it is called as a class name. Okay, description you can give anything. Derived from data dash. So click on create dedicated database table. Okay, so for all the tables we have to enable this option. Then enter property names. So property names I'm going to use, first of all I'm using network ID as a primary key. Okay, every table we have to enter one primary key property. I'm giving network ID as a primary key here. Next, so you can click on add a row, or you can click on insert a row option. Okay, so any option you can click, so it will automatically add a new row here if you click on insert a row. Then in the next row I'm giving a new property. Then I'm giving recharge type, insert a row, network operator, then circle, and recharge amount. I'm giving as amount. Okay, so these 5 fields I'm adding in this table. And for amount property, select data type as integer. Now click on generate. Okay, generate the table. And once after creating this table, so in the next step we'll start creating the, means we'll be working inside the work class. Okay, and to this table properties we are going to map the data. So what are the details we enter in the form, right? So after running the case, so those values it must save in the, so in this database table we have to save the values for all these properties. So that's the reason the same names, the properties and the names must be same in the work class also. In the next step, when we create the properties inside the work class, so we have to define a same properties, and more properties also we can create, because for the other properties there is no need to save in the database. So apart from this, we can add more fields in the user interface. Okay, so table is generated. Okay, so no need to give the data manually. So when we give the information in the form, so automatically it will map to the database. Okay, if you want to see the structure of the table, so click on this open option, that is edit option. It will show the names of all the properties created inside this table. Okay, so inside this table, so for these properties we have to map the records. Okay, so now in the next step we'll define work class properties. So I'm going to use the Paytm class here. So inside this class I'm going to configure the work class properties and everything now. So all these rules I'm going to define from the Paytm class only. Okay, so everything I will define inside this class. So first of all, start creating the properties. So if you want to create multiple properties at a time means, so if we right click on that class, we will get an option to excuse me, we will get one option called create properties. Okay, so if you click on this option, to open a widget. So at a time we can define all the properties instead of adding each single property. So we can define all the properties at a time, because I know what are the properties I have to create, so I can define in the same widget. So first of all we will see, so we will add network ID and make sure these properties must be case sensitive. Give me 1 second. Data type is integer. And for the recharge type property, I will define the static data. So after creating the properties, we can define some static data at property level. So now I'm just creating a property name. So for the recharge type, we can enter some static values like, so what are the different types like prepaid or postpaid, 4G, 3G, okay, DTH. So like that I'll give some types in the drop down. Okay, so that one. So right now I'm creating a property. In the, when after creating the properties, we can open the property and we can add some static values. So first of all we need to create this property and later we'll define the static values. Then create network operator. Circle. And apart from these properties from the data class, I'm adding more fields here. I'm giving mobile number, and I don't want to save the mobile number to the database, only I'm giving at the input level. And I'm giving one more field as coupon code, and this one also no need to save inside the database, because these two will be entered at the input level. No need to save these records in the database. Okay, so for this text only, and click on next option. Click on next, click on submit. Now once refresh this class, okay, so data model is created. Expand this data model, expand property. Okay, so all these properties are defined in the work class, and here for the recharge type property I want to define some static values. Open this recharge type, and in previous sessions I told you, if you want to add any static values, so under this option display and validation, we are having an option called table type option. From the table type option, select option as local list, and inside the local list we can define the static values. So under the table type, select local list, and in the table values we can add what are the values we want to add for this property. So first value I am giving as a caption, click on add a row, okay, I'm giving some 3 values. If you want to add, you can add more. Click on save this property. Okay, so all properties are defined in the work class. Now in the next step we are going to define a section, okay, in the same class. From user interface category, click on section. Okay, so section purpose is to mainly designing the forms. Okay, so the basic design means the entire design of the form will be done inside the section only. Okay, we cannot do the design inside a flow action or any other rule. Okay, under the user interface, the design purpose we are going to use section rule only. So here give any name, okay, so by default you will get dynamic layout. Okay, so inside this page, so first of all, so the default layout is dynamic layout. Okay, I'm going to keep it like that only. In the next sessions I will use this one. Okay, so for some header components I'll define in the inside this layout. Okay, right now in today's session I want to use these properties, so I'm keeping this layout like this only. I'm going to add a new layout below this one. Okay, I will use this in the next sessions. Okay, below this again add a dynamic layout. Okay, now inside this dynamic layout, now I want to divide the layout into 2 grids. Okay, in the left side of the column I want to add all these properties, and in the right side I will use the part for other functions. Okay, so first of all, if you want to divide the layout into 2 grids, because by default dynamic layout is default, if you want to divide the layout into grids, if you go to the settings of this layout, we have something called layout format. When you open the layout settings, from the layout format we can change the grids, means inline grid option we can select as. So if you want to divide into 2 parts, select option as inline grid double option. Okay, so then the layout will get divided into 2 parts. Okay, now inside, once after dividing the dynamic layout into two grids, again if you want to use these properties, we have to, inside the dynamic, again we have to include a dynamic layout. Again inside this 2 we have to include a 2.1 dynamic layout. Okay, so once again go to the layout option. Inside the dynamic layout 2, I'm going to add a new dynamic layout. Now it will be 2.1 dynamic layout 2.1, and this layout will be added in the first grid of the, inside the first grid the layout will be added. Once again define. Okay, so select the layout type as dynamic. Okay, now inside this 2.1 we are going to use this property names, and in the right side, in the next sessions, we will use some other scenarios. Okay, so right now in today's session we are going to add properties inside this 2.1 layout, and we are going to map with the database table. So now one after another, so we can drag and drop the properties from the work class to the section. So first of all, I'm taking network ID. Next, select next property. I'm taking recharge type, and in the same layout below that property, just you'll get a line like this, and just release the property. So while adding these properties, so click on, select on this dotted option. Okay, you'll get an arrow. By then, when you get this arrow, then only we can drag and drop the properties. Then select network operator. Next, mobile number. Circle. Then recharge amount. Then add coupon code. Okay, anyway, now in current session we will not use the coupon code. In the coming sessions we are going to use that option. Okay, and for the recharge type property, we are having some static data is there. Okay, so we have to map it in, we have to map with this property inside the section, because here by default the control for this recharge type is text, right? So we have to either take drop down option or radio button option we can use. Okay, we are having only less records are there. I can go with the radio button here. So how to change the control and how to add the static values for this property means, go to field settings, because for the recharge type property, go to settings. Okay, in the change option, so by default the control is text input, so go to change option, and I'm going to select radio buttons for this. Click on OK. And what are the static data we given for the recharge type, so all the values it will display for this property. Okay, now save this page, save this section rule. Okay, in the next sessions we will be doing some modifications to this page, and we will do more actions. Okay, so we are going to modify the design, and we are going to configure more layouts in the section. So today's session only this layout we are using, and in this layout we are using these properties. Now after creating a section and saving this one, next step is we will add a flag action for that. So from the user interface only, So from the user interface rule type, we'll have this flaction. So flaction is just a container of a section rule. Okay, same design we are going to copy inside the flaction rule. And in the coming sessions, if we do any changes in the section, right, automatically it will update in the flaction. See, once we configure a section rule inside a flaction, and after saving this one, any changes which happens inside a section, inside the design, automatically it will update in the flaction also. See, once after adding a section inside a flaction, there is no need to configure every time. So automatically what are the changes we do in the section rule, all the changes will automatically update in the flaction also. Suppose if you in the next sessions will add more controls, we are going to add more layouts. Okay, so once after defining the section inside a flaction, there is no need to add every time. It will automatically update the changes. What are the changes we are doing inside the section, it will automatically gets updated in the flaction also. Okay, so now the design is configured in the flaction rule now. Okay, in the coming sessions we will use these options. Okay, generally the flaction purpose, other purpose is we can perform additional actions to this design. Okay, like validations and business logic. Okay, so those options we will get in the coming sessions. Okay, so right now after adding the section, just save the flaction rule, and in the next step we will configure the activity rule. Okay, so activity is very important here. So because all the mapping, property values mapping and property name mapping will happen from the activity rule only. Okay, so first of all we'll open the activity. It comes under technical rule type. So under the technical rule type, open activity. Okay, give any name. And inside the activity, so first thing is we have to configure pages and classes, because see, first of all what type of classes we are mapping, so we have to configure in the pages and classes first. So yesterday I told you we are having two different classes we are mapping right now, work class and data class. So both the work class name and data class name. Okay, so both the work class and data class name we have to map inside the activity rule. So first of all go to open the pages and classes tab. So under the class name, okay, so first of all I'm giving the work class name. So work class name is under which class you are going to create all these rules. We are creating all the rules under the Paytm class, that is so our class name will be maya-python okay, you'll get the class names in the drop down. Okay, you can select the work class name. Work-Paytm is the work class name, and the data class name is, now click on add a row, add a new item, and in the next row you can define the, so till data name is common, so and class name is data-rec-info is the data class name. Okay, so these two classes we have to map. Now in the next step, for every class there is other option called page name. So here the page name purpose is to for debugging purpose. Okay, so what are the page name we provide for the work class, it will be for used for work class level debugging, and what are the page name we are giving for the data class, it will be used for data class server debugging. We can use the page name. And here for the work classes, at the time of again it will change based on the action we are performing. So right now in this scenario we are going to insert the data from work class to the data class. Okay, we are using the insert action. So based on this the page names will change. So here for the work classes, already PEGA have some default page name for debugging purpose, means what are the values we entered in the form, right? So those values first of all will go and save in a page called py work page, so which is a default page which is given by the PEGA systems only. Okay, even whenever we enter any data in the form, so those data in the form will go and save in the py work page. Okay, so means work class level if you want to debug means, so from the py work page we can debug. Okay, so whenever we do the insert for the work classes, we have to give the page name as py work page, which is a default page. So we are not defining by our own, it is a default page which is configured by the PEGA systems. So this one I will show in the clipboard. Okay, next, so here for the work class you can give the page name as, and here the name must be in the same template, py small, w caps, and again p caps. Okay, so if you don't give in this case sensitive format, so then the data will not map to the, first of all it will not map to the work class server. So if it is not mapping to the p work page means it will not save to the database table also. So while giving the page names here, so the work class page name must be in the same format, and we have to give the p work page only, because if you give any other page name, so first of all it will not map to the clipboard server only, because see any data mapping between one class to other class, so clipboard acts as a primary server. Okay, so now in between the work class and the data class, clipboard acts as a server, main server. From the clipboard only, so these values will map to the database. So while giving this page name for the work class, so the page name must be same every time, means while doing the insert function, if you do some other fetching or other things, again the page names and class names will change. Okay, here based on the scenario, based on the action we are performing, for the work classes we have to give the page name as py work page. And for the data class, so there is no, because data table will differ. Work class means, so these work classes will be common in the clipboard tool, but data classes will map different data classes, and we can give any name for debugging purpose. So your own name you can give, so there is no mandatory page name is there. So here for this data class we can enter any page name, and with that page name we can perform debugging at server level. Okay, I'm giving a page name as insert page. Okay, so not only this name, you can give any name for this data class, any page name you can give for the data class, but for the work classes the page name will be default one, that is py work page. Okay, so then this page acts, another purpose is, first purpose is for debugging purpose we will use these pages, and another purpose is what are the page name we are providing for these classes, right? So this page name acts as a reference to the properties inside the work class, and this insert page acts as reference to the properties inside the data class. Means if you want to select a property inside the data class means, so first of all we have to select the page name dot property name. Okay, that one I will show in the steps tab, I will show you. Now once we configure the pages and classes, then go to the steps tab. Now I will tell you about few methods here. So we are having two types of, okay, so first of all I will tell you about the what are obj methods. So obj methods mainly will be using four different methods we will use. Okay, so many types will be there, but mainly under the obj methods category we have something called obj save, or object save also we can call, or object open, obj browse, and obj delete. So these four are the important methods. So for performing insert or update, we will use obj save method. Okay, and if you want to perform fetch single record, we'll use obj open method. And if you want to perform fetch multiple records, we will use obj browse method. And if you want to delete a record from the database, we will use these methods. Okay, so these are fixed, means anytime if you want to perform insert or update, then go with obj save. And if you want to perform fetch single record means obj open, multiple records means obj browse, delete a record means. Like this we can easily identify what type of methods we have to. We'll be having some idea. Okay, accordingly we need to select the method type, and we have to configure the parameters, method parameters. And another type of method we have, those are called as property methods. Okay, so under the property methods, again we have some 4 to 5 types are there. So first of all, the most important method is property set method. Okay, so generally property set method will helps to initialize property value to the property name, or property name to property value. Okay, so in order to initialize the values to the property, or from property name to the property value, so we are going to use the property set method. Okay, in order to initialize the values to property names and vice versa, means property name to property value also we can initialize. In both the scenarios we are going to use property set method. Okay, property set contains two parameters, that is property name and property value. Okay, so these things we have to configure. So property value and property name we have to configure, means so whether you're mapping work class properties or data class properties, we have to map in these parameters. Okay, and in this scenario, while inserting the data, right, we are going to map data from work class properties to data class properties. So values will be given in the work class, and name means names are there in the data class. So what are the values we entered in the form, those values we have to map to the data class properties. So first of all, while defining the function logic here, first method we have to use property set method. In step 1 we have to use property set method, and we have to configure the property values and property names. Then in the second step we'll use obj save. Okay, I told you, if you want to insert the data or update the data in the database, we need to use obj save method. Okay, and no need to configure its parameters. Whenever you want to update the data means we can update the parameters, but while saving the data for the first time, or you are newly saving the data means, directly we'll use the method name as obj save. Okay, so in this scenario these two methods we'll use, and we'll map the parameters inside this activity. So first of all, okay, already we configured pages and classes. Now inside the step we are going to add the methods. So in the first method I'm going to use property set. Okay, so this property set maximum in every activity we will use. Okay, it is the most important, and maximum in every activity. Sometimes we'll use twice and thrice also. Okay, so first method is property set method, and see, we have to perform debugging, right? At server level, at database server level, we have to perform debugging. So in the step page name, so PEGA work page means it is already there in the clipboard. Okay, so what is the purpose of the step page means, any new user pages or any new page names we are defining, right? So those page names we have to map to the clipboard tool. Okay, and here PEGA work page is already there in the clipboard tool. It is already predefined by the PEGA only, so no need to add this page name in the user pages. But insert page is a new page, and we need to perform debugging at database server level. So whenever we define the values or initialize the values inside the step page, we have to configure the user page name. Okay, so insert page is the our own user page name, and we have to add this page name to the user pages in the clipboard. Okay, what step page will do means it will add or it will create a new user pages in the clipboard tool. Okay, so here for debugging purpose we will use this page name, and under the step page name add this page name as insert page, because no need to add a pure page because it's already inserted in the user pages under the work class category. So now we have to define the our own user pages, whatever we define in the pages and classes. Now after adding the method name and the step page name, we will have some parameters for this method. So left side of the method name there is arrow here, expand to see method parameters. So just click on that option. You will have some parameters like property name and property value. Okay, here I told you we are going to save data for properties which are there in the database. Okay, so we are having some properties like network ID, recharge type, network operator, amount and circle properties. Okay, all these properties, for all these properties we need to so map the data from work class to the data classes. And whenever we use the property set method, property name means every time remember, so property name represents the properties from the data class, and property value represents the property names from the work class. Okay, then how to add the property names from the data class under the property name means, if you click on down arrow here it will show the page names. Okay, so and whenever you highlight the page name it will show the class name also. So pure page is a part of keen-work-ptm class, and insert page is a part of data-rec info class. Means that is nothing but a data class. Now if you want, so property name represents data class properties I told you. So whenever we use property set method, property name represents data class properties, and property value every time represents work class properties. Now under the property name select insert page, because I told you insert page acts as a reference page to the properties under the data class. So when you select the insert page it will display all the properties under the data class. Now select your property name, so one by one in each row we will configure one property. Okay, left hand side what are the property you have taken, and in the right hand side also, but we have to configure the work class properties. So what is the reference page name for work class properties? PEGA work page. Select PEGA work page and click on amount property. Similarly, what are the other fields we have? We have to map other properties also in the same way. Insert page dot, okay, you can add in any order. Order of properties is not an issue. So we have to list all the property names from the data class. So for all these properties we are going to save the data. Okay, now in the right side pwork page dot, so that's the reason we will define same property names inside the work class and data class. Okay, so using the property set method we will initialize the values to the name. Okay, so all the property names will map here using the parameters. Then in the next step add a new step, and inside the new step we'll use obj save method. Obj save method is used to, so automatically when you use the obj save and give the step page name as insert page, so it will automatically save the records to the data class. Okay, so just add the method name, no need to configure parameters for this. So directly we will define the method name because all the logic is already configured inside this method. So obj save means it will automatically perform the action like insert action it will perform. So it will insert the values from work class whatever we are submitting in the form. So first of all these values will be stored in the clipboard. From the clipboard these values will be mapped to the property names in the data class. So now save this activity. And one more thing is, so this activity we are going to configure inside a flow diagram. I'm going to configure in a flow using utility shape. Okay, so from the utility shape I'm going to configure this activity. Okay, so next step is, after creating activity, next step is we'll configure a process inside a case. Okay, we'll open a case and we'll give the names of the stages and process. Okay, just we have to give the names there. So okay, and after giving the names inside a case, then we can open the flow diagram and we can configure the rules inside the flow. So we are using the Paytm class, right? So if you go to the cases explorer, with the same name you can see the Paytm case. Open that case. So when you open this case, you'll have an option called stages and process. Okay, first of all we'll define the stage names and then we'll define the step name. Step name is nothing but a process name. So names we can do anything. In the real time all these things is a process of a business analyst. Okay, so this one if you want we can define later. I'm giving 2 stages. So under this, so define the step name is nothing but a process name. And the other step name, okay, it will configure, it will load something in the backend, it will configure a pro. So after that we can give the next step name. Okay, inside this stage I'm defining one flow, and inside the e-payment stage I'll define another flow. Okay, so now save this one temporarily, save the case, and from the e-recharge step is there, right? Or from the e-recharge process, if you click on the arrow option, if you click on open, now it will go to the flow page. Okay, it will open the flow rule now. Okay, in the case, if you open the case, we will give the names of the stages and the process, and that process name is nothing but a flow name. So what are the name we are giving inside the step, right? So this is nothing but a flow name. Okay, we will open the flow. So if you click on open, it will open the flow rule, and inside this flow rule we are going to configure the process. Okay, now inside this flow, okay, I told you yesterday the starting shape will be start shape, then we are having assignment shape here. Okay, now I am going to use assignment only as the next step. And in this connector properties, I told you if you want to define a flow action name means we will use assignment shape. Okay, assignment shape purpose is to, whenever you want to define a flow action in the flow diagram, we have to use assignment shape. Okay, so immediately after the start shape, I want to add a home screen section here. So means section means we cannot directly add a section. In the form of flow action rule, we are going to configure the page, and in the connectors properties of the assignment shape, we will give the flow action name. In the connector properties of the assignment shape, we will give the flow action name. Now after adding the assignment, next shape I'm going to use as utility shape. because after submitting the data in the form, right, so it should map the data to the database. So already the methods and all we used inside the activity, right? So in order to configure that activity inside this flow, we are going to use utility shape. And how to call the activity inside utility shape means, from the utility shape properties only we can call that activity name. If you open the utility shape properties, so under the rule name we can configure activity. But the thing is, if you click on down arrow, it will not show the activity name here, because so from the security level, okay, if you open the activity, we are having one tab called security tab. Okay, from the security we have to give permission to access that activity inside the flow diagram. Okay, so we have something called security in the activity rule, so we have to change the settings there. Usage settings will be there. Under the usage settings we have to configure the type as utility, then only we can access this activity inside the flow diagram using the utility shape. Okay, once defining the steps and everything, go to security, we have something called restricts access. So here we have something called usage. So by default usage type is activity. If the usage type is activity means we can access from all the user interface rule, we can access connector rules, we can access, and different rules we can access. But if you want to access this activity inside a flow diagram means, we have to select the usage type as utility, then only we can access this one inside the flow diagram. If you don't select the usage as utility, we cannot access this activity inside the utility shape properties. So here the thing is, under the security tab, under the usage, select utility option. Okay, select the usage as utility. Now save this activity. Okay, and this is mandatory. Whenever you want to access the activities in a flow diagram, compulsory you have to use the usage as utility. So for other rules not required, but anytime if you want to access your activity inside a flow means, we have to compulsory give the usage as utility here. Then now go to the flow once again. Now from the utility shape properties, now we can access that activity name in the drop down. Now if you click on down arrow, you can see the name of that activity. Select that one, click on OK. Now so once after defining the utility, so finally we can give the end connector. So from this flow what happens means, first of all it will display the form. Okay, and no need to do anything inside the connector settings. Okay, so activity name directly we configured from the shape itself, utility shape itself. Okay, so just we will give the connection from utility to end shape. Okay, so first shape is assignment, so it will start the flow. First of all it will display the form. So after giving the data means, we are developers, right, we need to test it once whether the data is mapping to the server or not, we need to test. So as part of the testing process, so once after saving this flow, so we are going to run the case and we are going to submit the data in the form. Okay, so once we run the, after saving the flow, also save the case once Paytm case is there, right? Once save the Paytm case. Okay, in the developer environment if you want to test means, so go to the create option. Okay, we have a create menu is there, right? So from the create menu, okay, when you click on this arrow or when you click on that menu, it will show all the case names here, and right now everything we configure from the Paytm case. Okay, just click on the Paytm case. So inside the case here we configured the process, right? So as part of the process defined in the flow, so first of all it must display the page, means what are the section we created, right? So it is going to display that form. and we'll submit the data in the form. And once after submitting the page, so it will save the data, what are the values we given for the properties, the same values it will go and save in the database table properties. Okay, now give the inputs in the form. Okay, select the recharge type, network operator, even though if you give mobile number also it will not save, because we didn't map the mobile number value to the database table. Okay, if you want to give the circle means give circle, recharge amount. Okay, actually here the thing is, one value it is displaying in the left side, another value in the right pane. So the thing is, if you want to all alignment must be same means, so for the integer values the alignment it will take by default as right side, and for the text data type, if the data type is text means it will be like a left side, it will take alignment by default. So at the section level we need to change the alignment for these properties. Okay, once after submitting I'll change the alignment, and I'm not entering coupon code in the coming sessions. At the time of defining conditions I'll use the coupon code. Right now just submit the form. Okay, so if you want to check whether the data is mapped to the server or not, so first of all try to check from the server level. Okay, so primary server. So here if you want to debug any data means, open the clipboard tool. So just click on this clipboard option. So first of all, work class level, if you want to perform debugging means, I told you if you want to debug any data at work class level, so the default page name is PEGA work page, right? So now inside the clipboard tool, so under the user pages only you will be having a page called PEGA work page. Okay, and what is the reference class for the PEGA work page? myapp-kin-work-ptm. Okay, if you click on the page name PEGA work page, now what are the values we submitted in the form? So all the values will map to the clipboard under the PEGA work page. Okay, it will map to the PEGA work page all these values. So what are the values I have given, right? So you can see all the values. Okay, it will be in alphabetical order actually. So in some other values you can see in the bottom also. Based on alphabetical order, you can see the recharge type in the last. Okay, in alphabetical order it will display the property names here. Okay, so first of all, so successfully all the results are mapped to the clipboard server. Okay, because if the results are not mapping to the clipboard in the PEGA work page means, then it will not map to the database. Okay, so first of all, so if the results are mapping to the clipboard means, okay, so it is successfully saved to the clipboard server. Now open the page name. Okay, we have given a user page for the page name for the data class, so the page name is insert page, right? So here in the user pages, so select search for the insert page. Okay, you can see here we have an insert page here. Just open that insert page. Now when you open the insert page, we can see the values for the properties like amount, circle, network ID, network operator, and recharge type. Okay, and you can see here, so the values also successfully mapped to the data class also. So these values successfully mapped to the data class also. So now compulsory we can say, so the values are successfully saved in the database. Suppose if you don't see values here in the insert page, then so there may be some problem with the data mapping here. Okay, so the clipboard is, it's a like a debugging purpose. Okay, if you want to know whether the data is successfully mapped to the server or not. Okay, so we will check it once, not every time. So if you once we design any screen, right, so we'll just wait for testing purpose, we'll submit some data in the form and we'll check in the server. So if the data is mapping to the server means, so then it is successfully those records also will save in the data class. Now we'll open the data table and check once. So it's already open, right? Once click on refresh. Okay, you can see the record count is 1 now. So you can see, so what are the values we submitted in the form. So it will map to the data server here. So like this. So we'll get a requirement like, so this is for one form. Similarly, so you'll do the same thing for n number of forms. So when you get a requirement like, so design the screens and map to the database. So same process we'll do for any number of pages also. Okay, if you want have a requirement like more than 3 or 4 forms. Similarly, so it can be different classes or same data classes. It depends upon the requirement you get. So if it is the same data class means you can configure everything in a same activity. If it is a different page means and different page and different data class means we'll configure a separate activity for that, and after the page name we'll configure the activity name. So like this. So according to the requirement we get, so we have to configure the forms, and we have to, in every form what are the data we enter, we have to map to the database also. So if you want to insert or update from update, I will tell you in the coming sessions. So this is like a, so inserting the data or mapping the data from work class to the data classes. Okay, so anytime if you want to perform any insert action, so these steps will be common for any scenario. If you get like this, so these steps are common for every time. Okay, so first of all data table I created, then work class properties, section, flow action, activity. Then I configured a case. I have given the names of the stages and process. Then from here I opened a flow. Then inside the flow I'll configure the rules like flow action rule and the activity rule. Then I'll test it and we'll check the data, whether the data is mapped to the server or not. So like this you can do the configuration and mapping, and in the next sessions we'll be doing additional things. Okay, so what are the form we designed, right? So for this form only we can perform additional actions. Okay, more things we can configure, and if you want to we can define conditions in the coming sessions. We'll define validations, we'll define expressions on this. Okay, so many additional things we'll perform on these forms. Okay, so any questions till now? Okay, okay, oh, yes, yes, okay. See, we are giving the flaction name, right? See, by default why it will display, we have to give the flaction name in the assignment connector properties. We gave the flaction name, right? See, what are the form we designed, right? We gave the flaction name there. So if you give the flaction name, then it will display the screen there. If you don't give any flaction, how it will display then? In the flow diagram, in the connector settings, we have given the name of the flaction, right? Suppose if you don't give, how it will display the screen? So we have to give the name of the flaction here. Then what are the screen we design? It will display the screen automatically. Okay, what are the screen you want to place inside the starting screen, whatever you want to place? So by using this assignment shape only we can add. But if you don't take assignment, how can you add a screen here? So assignment purpose is to, anytime if you want to place a screen at particular point of flow, so we will use assignment shape, and in the connector properties we'll give the flaction name. Okay, this one not required. In the coming sessions we'll use for routing and service level notifications and all, we'll use assignment. See, assignment is the purpose of, if you don't take assignment we cannot add a flaction here, first thing. So using assignment only we can add this, then only you'll get the settings, connector settings and the flagshift name and all will get only if you take assignment. If you take any other shape we will not get this option. Okay, assignment purpose is to add a flagshift, and in the coming session some additional functions will be there inside the shape also, we'll do later that one. But anytime if you want to, okay, anytime compulsory, so just remember anytime if you want to place a screen in a flow means use assignment only. Okay, in the later if you want to add more screens means again once again you'll use assignment shape. And in the directly we cannot configure a section, right? So in the form of flow action we'll configure that screen. Okay, in other things, yeah, you can reuse, you can directly reuse, there is no need to give any security settings. If you want to use in another things like flow action, sections, properties and all, we can directly use, no need to give any security options. Yeah, we can reuse any number of times, but generally at one point only we'll use, yeah, across the case not, so within the same case, within the same case only you can reuse. Within the Paytm case, yeah, within the same case, yes. A zip code validation we cannot configure from utility. At property level we will configure. Zip code validations will be configured at property level only, not at utility level. Or okay, utility activity level means at like page level it will be, but we will not configure at page level. At a property level we will configure the zip code. Property level means we can use in any form we can reuse. That one you will get later in the coming sessions. In it comes under validations. So again some different types will be there: property validations, page validations, and property and page validations. Both the types, three types will be there. I will tell you later that one. Yeah, within the case. Yeah, within the same case. Okay, so practice these things. So when you practice you may get any doubts. Okay, so once if you practice the things, if you have any questions I'll tell you in tomorrow's session. Okay, I'll share the recording. So just once practice 2 times or 3 times, and add another application and take different screens and try to practice with more screens also. So when you practice on this tool, right, so parallelly create some other application also, give a different name and different application, and try to take different fields and different pages. Okay, this time we did with one screen, same thing try to do with more than one screen also. Okay, so like that you can start practicing the things inside the application. Okay, so we did for one form now, same thing you can do for more than one form. So in this flow diagram what you will do, after utility shape you can add one more screen, then after that you can add utility shape again. So once again like that, so configure like more than one page. Okay, so you can use the same data class or you can use different data class, it's your wish. So if you want to configure a second screen properties and everything in a same class means you can add in the same data class. Okay, or else if you want to create a different data class and different activity, you can configure a separate data class and separate activity we can configure. Okay, same thing try to work on more than two screens. Okay, first of all try with one screen. So if you are perfect, then try with two screens, two different screens. Remaining layouts will be covered, we will get automatically in the, so when we move to the practicals you will get the other layouts also. Okay. Yeah, other types also you'll get. Yes. But see, even though all the data types are there, we will not use all the types. Okay, so list and all some other types will be there. So instead of using that, we have some alternatives are there. Okay, maximum we'll use single value, and other data types directly you can select the data type of the property. And if you want to configure any list or something means, so we have a some separate rule is there. Data page rule will be there. We can use the data page rule directly. So no need to configure manually, no need to configure any properties like this. So we have a other option is there. So that one I will get in the coming sessions. Data mapping, data map I didn't set. Data page is a rule. Okay, that one you'll get in the coming sessions. Maybe next 2 sessions you'll get. Who is this? Okay, I will share. Okay, so just once talk to your coordinator. I will share today. Okay, so we'll see tomorrow guys. Okay, so try to practice these things. So we'll see tomorrow. Okay, fine. Okay. So thank you everyone.